Good morning, everybody. It's Bernadette Wagner with Prime Time for Women's Mindful Monday, our segment where we highlight female entrepreneurs and business leaders in our community who are really making a difference. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome Stacey Crawford from the Community Foundation and Heather Guessford from the United Way. They're going to join us today to talk a little bit about their journeys into their respective positions, and then also talk about how these two organizations, led by women, are collaborating to better serve our community who's been impacted severely by the COVID-19 pandemic. So anyhow, thank you both so much for being here. I'm so glad that you could make it today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So maybe what we can do is, Heather, we'll start with you. And I know you're relatively new in your position, exciting time to be starting a new position. Tell us how long you've been in that position and what your goals are for the United Way.
Yes, relatively new here. I've only been with the United Way since February 5th. However, I was a longtime volunteer. I've been with the organization for about 16 years in a volunteer capacity. Relatively, obviously new to the position, starting just before a pandemic, has made things very interesting, very challenging to say the least. But
also exciting in a way, right?
Very
exciting.
You
really threw yourself into this position.
Yeah, and I do feel like, and anybody that knows me kind of, would say that I was really made for this. I'm one that typically likes to be where the action is, and I like to be very fast-paced, very active. So I feel like if anybody was ready to jump in with both feet in a helmet during a pandemic, it was me. So it's never a boring moment, never a dull day here.
Oh, that's great. And just real quickly, how big is your staff at the United Way?
Yeah, so we're right now staff of 4, and we actually have an open position that we're looking to backfill. So right now we're really relying heavily on our board of directors and our volunteers. We have several volunteers that are still here working from the office right now. So really the heart of this organization is our volunteers.
Great, great. And Stacey, you haven't been all that long at the Community Foundation either. Perhaps, and you're new to this community, right?
I'm actually not. I've been in well, I'm not a native like Heather is.
Right, that's what I meant. Okay.
Yeah, but I've been here a little over a decade, so.
Okay. And so how long have you been with the Community Foundation?
Yeah, I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary last week, I guess. So I've been here 2 years in this position, but of course still feels brand new to me as I'm learning the ropes of the Community Foundation world.
And I'm not sure that it wouldn't benefit our viewers to hear a little bit about the Community Foundation's mission. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you take donations and funds in order to grow and how people might get involved with that aspect of the Community Foundation.
Sure, it's a really a mission that's driven on donor intent. And so our mission really is to steward and inspire philanthropy for the benefit of our community. Although our reach does go outside of the community because, again, we are based upon donor intent. So if a donor decides they want to establish a fund to support an organization outside of Washington County, we also do that. But, we work with donors and organizations and agencies to establish funds, and the Community Foundation world is really built on that endowment model. So it's putting money in and holding those dollars and spending off of a portion of the interest. As we've grown and gotten larger, we've been able to get into the non-endowed world where we can offer to organizations and agencies or donors funds that they can spend immediately into the community. So a lot of our agencies around here, our nonprofits, use us almost as a charitable savings account. And so we're able to invest dollars for them that they can access as needed, different than they may be able to do.
And I remember when the Community Foundation first started and, they were saying we're up to $1 million. You just tell us how large your endowment fund is right now. It's pretty impressive. Absolutely. I read about it.
We started in 1997 with one fund of $9,000, and today sitting here we are over 350 funds, and our assets are about $45 million, depending on the day and the market. So yeah, we've had some considerable growth.
Yeah, Heather and I will give you a clap for that one.
Thank you.
Also, I just want to give a shout out to our community members who make that possible, right?
Absolutely. Our donors are how we're driven here. I mean, that really is everything that we work for. So if it weren't for the community and a fairly large group of really concerned citizens back in 1997 that got this off the ground, we wouldn't be here. So we're very grateful for that.
So maybe we can zero in a little bit on the purpose of this topic today. I was reading in the newspaper about the initiatives to support those who have been impacted by COVID-19. And as Primetime for Women's mission, celebrate, connect, and empower women, I couldn't help but saying, oh my gosh, I have to have Stacey and Heather on this little segment, because you are two women who are connecting people with resources. You are empowering people to get together, and you're celebrating those accomplishments by serving our community. So I just want to thank you both and get you to talk a little bit about how this came about, and also to mention those foundations that have stepped up to provide matching funds. I would really appreciate if you could mention all that.
I'll let Heather, you want to go ahead with how it started, and then I'll jump in with our matching donors.
Yeah, well, Stacey's team really kickstarted the fund, so we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the graciousness of Stacey, her board of directors, and her matching donors and her matching funds, because we really needed to have a solid base to let us get started with it. But Stacey and I had been communicating pretty regularly during the beginning of the pandemic, and we knew that we were both two very small staffs. We're each, two teams of 4 people, and we're both trying to backfill positions every day. And so just keep the lights on and business as usual. And we're saying, gosh, things are just so crazy right now. We want to help. We don't know how to help. And again, we're both so small. And again, just talking to Stacey, we knew there was an opportunity. We didn't know what that looks like. And then Stacey had a call, I would say, from one of her angels on her board that said, look, I'm going to invest in this opportunity. You two, I know that you can work together to get this done. And really, Stacey, I would say Stacey was the lead in kickstarting this whole thing. And we couldn't have done it without her and her angel donor and her matching funds.
Now, Heather's being modest because while we can bring in the dollars and we knew there was a need, Heather and her team have the boots on the ground. They are hearing it every day. And I can tell you, it's been phenomenal to be a part of their organization and working together collaboratively, because we really get to hear the stories from them that they're hearing. So while we talked about we're driven on donor intent, the donors are who typically call us, and we don't typically get the needs from agencies and individuals. So it's been a perfect marriage, but we knew that we needed to do something, as Heather said, and we knew our power was in reaching the donors and getting something kickstarted. And we knew Heather's power was then in making sure that this was deployed in exactly the right way to exactly the right people. So I will shout out to our matching. I have to read them because there's so many of them.
Which is so exciting. It's so exciting that there's so many matching donors. And I have to say, my husband and I were looking to make a donation at several different organizations, but when we read in the newspaper that you had these matching donors step forward, it just, I think I called both of you. It's like, how do I make this happen so that we can tap those generous donors? So yes, please do read that list.
Yeah, absolutely. So these people put together $100,000, which is what they gave cumulatively together to kickstart that match. And so they include the Pauline K. Anderson Foundation, the Alice, Virginia, and David W. Fletcher Foundation. Obviously, we know 2 very philanthropic foundations in our area. The Community Foundation Board put some dollars in of the Community Foundation's unrestricted dollars. God's Grace Fund, another wonderful donor. Dr. and Mrs. Mitesh and Aaron Katari, Kevin and Stacey Crawford, Todd and Sue Bear, the Adna Fulton Family Fund, and then we had the Beachleys also give. And so we had just a list of people that stepped in and gave to this to get it started. And then the greater thing is when the community heard that, we were able to match that entire $100,000 to unlock all of those funds. And so I don't know our total as of this morning. I think it's somewhere around 220. What is it, Heather?
We're about 223, 224, but we haven't opened the mail this morning. So
Yeah.
usually on Mondays, we have a nice lump of checks there that we received from our weekend donors. I know we had a lot of traffic this weekend to our website as well. So our marketing director notified us that we had some traffic there, people making donations. I know we got another donation from Sunrise Rotary this morning. Thank you again, Sunrise Rotary. So we're going to get to our new goal in any time, and I'm going to save that goal. In case you're not aware, I'm going to save that and let Stacey tell you what we're working towards for our new match.
Okay, and you know, Heather, I think maybe at this point it would be really good if you could tell us about some of the stories, some of the need, and how these funds, one of the really lovely things is, in case our viewers don't know this, if they give to this fund, there is no overhead cost. It is all gone to direct need. So I just thought that maybe you could mention some of those needs and maybe some of the organizations that have benefited from the generosity of our community.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. 100% of the funds that are raised are redeployed immediately into the hands of our agencies in Washington County, who are really serving the most vulnerable residents and the most needy of residents here directly. We also have had Fiserv, which was previously First Data, waive all of the credit card processing fees. So when we say 100%, that is truly 100%. And I will tell you that at any given time, we have over about 24 agencies that are asking for something, asking for help. And that's not just cash. They're asking for shelf-stable food. They're asking for PPE. They're asking for other different personal care items. So cash is always king, but at the same time, you know, Stacey and I are getting a lot of calls from agencies that are saying, well, we do need cash. At times, cash can't help because if they're having trouble getting access to that PPE, or if they're having trouble getting access to shelf-stable food because the supply chain was compromised. So while people are asking for cash, we're also getting those needs every single day as well, saying, I've got this cash, but I can't spend it because I can't get access to my supply chain. So the need has went from PPE, which is constant, to even cat litter and distilled water. But shelf-stable food has always been the most urgent need that we've been asked for.
That's great. So can you just list real quickly a couple of the organizations that have benefited from the grants?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're giving out the grants on an ongoing basis, right?
We are. As quick as we can get the money coming in, we're getting it redeployed. And Stacey, we've been on about an average of a 1 to 2 week cycle. So for getting out, we're right now accepting applications for our 4th wave of grants through midnight tonight.
Correct.
So we want to remind our agencies, you have until midnight tonight to get your grant application in. And Stacey,
do the applying agencies or nonprofits, they do need to be 501c3s or?
501c3s or religious or educational institutions.
Okay,
so
I just
grant to them.
Make sure that that's out there so people know if they're eligible to apply. I am having, you guys hear that? Hold on. Okay. Okay, guys, is that somebody, can you hear that noise? Okay, I'm going to end this and I'll call you right, let's try to relaunch this Zoom. Okay.